There was one of the largest copper mines in the world in Butte, which is about 100 plus miles upriver, and there was called the Berkeley Pit, which was an open pit mine. You can see it from the space shuttle. I think it's one of the largest open pit mines still in the world. And they smelted that stuff to get the copper out. That rock had a lot of heavy metals in it, what the EPA calls the big five heavy metals, which are cadmium, arsenic, zinc, lead, and copper. The smoke out of these plants was so toxic that all the cows were dropping over dead in the valley. It was that toxic. So what they did was they built a railroad and shipped the ore about 20 miles away to a place called Anaconda. And they just did that there. So all the cows and horses dropped dead in Anaconda instead of Butte. But then all these tailings, after it was smelted, were just laid out, just thrown out right next to the Clark Fork River, about 100 miles up. Okay, so, rain and, so there's been about 100 years for all these toxic heavy metals to wash down the river, make their way down the river, as they did. And about 5 miles upstream was a big dam that was put in a long time ago called Milltown Dam. And all the sediments that were washing down the river backed up behind Milltown Dam. So, and it was so toxic that people's wells were full of arsenic. Just to give you an idea of the concentrations of these heavy metals, you could go just 5 miles upstream, you could go and take like a knife, and stick it in the ground, just stick it down there, and come back a week later and it would be green. It would have been, there was so much copper, it would have been copper plated. So what's been really exciting, the real encouraging good news part of this story is that this was one of the largest Superfund sites in the country, this Milltown Dam just 5 miles up the river, and that dam has now been removed. And so we've now got a free running wild river here again, which is incredible. As you know, I mean, not many dams come out in this country, but this one did. It was a real important one. And also the EPA and others have spent a lot of time and money. They built a special railway, and they diverted the river and dug out all those toxic sediments, billions of tons of these things, and shipped it back up to Mama, back up to Anaconda, but put it in a much, much safer kind of area.